Good afternoon. This is the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners for August 8, 2017. I'm Commissioner Bud Blake, the chair of the board this year. I'd like to start off by doing introductions. To my left, you have Commissioner Gary Edwards. To my right is Commissioner John Hutchings. To his right is Clerk of the Board, Labanita Bomar. To her right is County Manager Romero Chavez. And to his right is the Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Elizabeth Petridge. With that in mind, I'll ask Commissioner Hutchings to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Wonderful. So, first item we have is the approval for today's agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the agenda for Tuesday, August 8, 2017.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Tuesday, August 8, 2017 agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and that motion carries. And next item we have is the meeting minutes for August 1st, 2017.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the board meeting minutes of August 1, 2017.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the board meeting minutes for August 1st, 2017. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and that motion carries also. So we have today a presentation, and it's the proclamation for National Farmers Market Week. And I'll ask Commissioner Hutchings to lead it off, and he has a proclamation, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the farmers markets and how they work with the community here.
This proclamation, well, I'm going to go into history. I'll just read it. Whereas between 1950 and 2008, Thurston County lost over 90,000 acres of farmland to urbanization, and whereas farmers markets preserve farmland and rural livelihoods for farmers who choose to use sustainable practices, thus promoting sustainability within the community and supporting the local economy by bringing growers of fresh produce together with hungry crowds of consumers, and whereas agriculture is essential to the quality of life enjoyed by citizens of Thurston County who have access to numerous community-supported agriculture shares, the many farm stands located throughout the county and along the Thurston Bountiful Byway, and the Washington State Farmers Market Association member markets, and whereas farmers markets provide weekly community gathering spaces and represent successful grassroots projects that grow and support others' markets, and whereas August 6th through the 12th marks the official week of the 2017 National Farmers Market Week. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners proclaims the week of August 6th through the 12th as National Farmers Market Week in Thurston County and encourages all residents to visit and consume local products that have been grown, raised, harvested, or manufactured from the bounties of our fertile land. Adopted this first day of August 2017, signed by your Board of County Commissioners. So with that, I would like to have, oh, there you go. Oh, we're glad. We have Mary DiMatteo here from the Olympia Farmers Market. Please come on up. And we have George Sharp with STEADY, the South Thurston Economic Development Initiative. Please come on up. And Aslan Mead, also with STEADY, yes, and the Economic Development Council. Come on up to the podium, please. Is there anybody else here? Oh, no, come up to the podium. Not up here yet. What are you doing? Thought you were going to cost us. Is there anybody else here from farmers markets or the Bountiful Byways or STEADY or the EDC? Anyone? Okay. I spent, as you know, or if you might recall, last month I did a gig, a videotape down at the farmers market and Kersop Farms and such, promoting our farmers markets and such, and it was a lot of fun and exceptionally educational. It's on TCTV now, it's on YouTube, and it's on the county's Facebook. It's a great video, but it proclaims farmers markets and organic farms and certified organic farms as well, and all the other things that we do at the market. So please come up, and one at a time, you can choose, draw straws, I don't care, but say something about the farmers markets or the economic component of this. Mary.
Ladies first, yeah.
If I may, good afternoon, Commissioners Hutching, Blake, and Edwards. My name is Mary DiMatteo. I am the Community Outreach Manager for the Olympia Farmers Market. And on behalf of the Olympia Farmers Market, it is my pleasure to honor National Farmers Market Week in Thurston County. As you may know, Governor Inslee, in his August 2nd, 2017 Farmers Market Proclamation declared, quote, Washington State has some 160 farmers markets providing fresh, nutritious, locally grown food to consumers in rural and urban communities around the state, unquote. Thurston County is home to 5 of these farmers markets, which include West Olympia, Tumwater, Tenino, and Yelm. I'd like to take a moment to introduce you to the Olympia Farmers Market. The Olympia Farmers Market, established in 1975 and from humble beginnings, is now home to over 100 vendors, including 51 local farmers, 21 food processors, 37 artisan crafters who are actively producing their product in a Quad County region identified in our policy manual as Thurston, Lewis, Mason, and Grays Harbor counties. The market itself is open over 150 days per year with full amenities, including market building, covered stage area, and restrooms in close proximity to the core of downtown Olympia, the Intercity Transit Center, hands-on Children's Museum, Lots Wet Science Center, and the Thurston County Food Bank. The Olympia Farmers Market is a hub for local farms, small business incubation, destination tourism, and vital community gathering space in Thurston County. A recent rapid market assessment of the Olympia Farmers Market, sponsored by a grant from the United States Department of Agriculture, conducted in partnership with the Washington State Farmers Market Association, determined that during peak season, our market receives some 5,500 customers per day and upwards of 450,000 customer visits per year. 64% of those live in Thurston County. 47% of these shoppers indicated they will spend up to $20 on locally produced goods, and 46% of shoppers indicated they will spend up to $40 at other businesses and restaurants in the downtown core. 68% of shoppers agreed that food incentive programs such as WIC, senior, and acceptance of EBT is, quote, very important, and a resounding majority of respondents say the primary reason they shop at farmers markets is to support a local farm, access healthy and environmentally friendly food. The Olympia Farmers Market generates a total of $5.6 million in annual sales, with 5-year trends signaling growth, particularly in locally processed foods. In 2016, the Olympia Farmers Market generated $1.7 million in gross agricultural sales, $1.5 million in gross sales of locally processed foods. At the start of this market year, we welcomed 15 new vendors into the marketplace, and the Olympia Farmers Market itself is outreaching into the community and partnering like never before with organizations such as the South Sound Food Systems Council, Thurston County Bountiful Byways, and South of the Sound Community Farmland Trust, just to name a few. We are looking forward to further market expansion in wine and cider sales, prepared food vendors, and local food processors. The quintessential jewel of Olympia is ranked 3rd in the state of Washington for highest amount of food stamp or EBT generated sales. In our food access programming, $31,874 was spent using EBT dollars, with a total of 1,411 sales at farm, with a total of 1,411 EBT transactions. While this is an impressive number of transactions and overall EBT sales at farmers markets in comparisons to averages across the state, this is a meager 1.18% of all sales made at the Olympia Farmers Market. Also, USDA Farmers Market Nutrition Program, WIC, and senior check rates of redemption are high, totaling $44,528 in the 2016 market season. Our rates of food access usage are outstanding in statewide comparisons, demonstrating this particular indicator. Our market is indeed a major attraction to low-income families and seniors from Thurston County, and to all families who seek access to nutrient-dense, local, farm, and processor direct fruit, vegetable, and food in a welcoming, fun, culturally rich, family-friendly environment. Commissioners and residents of Thurston County, I urge each of you to invest local, support local business, buy direct, reduce your carbon footprint, eat healthy, affordable food, keep farmland in production, and gain exposure to community, culture, and the arts simply by shopping your Thurston County farmers markets first. On behalf of the Olympia Farmers Market, thank you, and we look forward to seeing each of you at the market.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mary.
Mary, come back up.
Yeah, you don't get to sit down yet.
No, I'm gonna have Aslan or George speak, and then we'll.
Wow. Good job, Barry. I don't know if I can really go after that much. Just to say thank you, I want a copy of that. And I want a copy of that. That was just wonderful to hear all those words. You know, everything from the Bountiful Byway, but just hearing that commitment to local food, to growing local food, processing, manufacturing local food, and obviously encouraging folks to purchase it. So I'm going to let George talk about Steady and just what Steady is and what Steady does. I just want to say thank you so much. I am putting in a plug. Food Summit, October 20th and 21st. You get to come and taste all this food and all those local crafted beverages as well, and continue this exploration of the culture of our local food. So thank you so
Are
much.
the Food Summit tickets online already?
Not yet. They will be up in, I'd say, a week or two.
Okay.
We will get it out to you.
Great. Thank you, Aslan.
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you for having us today for the proclamation. We appreciate it. Again, I'm George Sharp. I'm with the Thurston Economic Development Council with the South Thurston Economic Development Initiative. And we're serving the communities of Yelm, Rainier, Tenino, Bucota, Grand Mound, and Rochester. And we just recently launched shopsouthlocal.com and a Facebook page of the same. And what we'll be doing is showcasing all of the businesses along that route, including the farmers, and we look forward to working with them, and we'll be doing video of them at their locations. So thank you again for having us today and your support of Steady.
You bet.
Thank you.
Anybody else from our farmers market that might have walked in at the last minute? No, go ahead. We have questions for all y'all and comments. You got it?
This is real quick. You know, you see the opening bell on the stock market? Well, believe it or not, way cooler than that was Mary let me ring the opening bell at the farmer's market, and that was pretty cool. Number two, you mentioned in all your stats, and I don't want it to get missed, the EBT,
Yep.
electronic something, benefit transaction. That used to be what we call food stamps. And that's taken now at the market for food. And you're moving to a new initiative eventually that Tumwater offers now at their farmer's market. For every dollar that is spent on an EBT card, the city is kicking in $1, is it, the city?
No, it's a federal grant.
It's a federal grant, kicking in $1. So someone on food stamps or with the EBT card is getting double the amount of food for that card or that transaction for their family. And
Yeah, come on up. Yeah,
go ahead,
come
speak to
Yes,
that.
To be clear, that's called the FENI grant. It stands for Food Insecurity and Nutrition Initiative, funded from the United States Department of Agriculture. We do not, at this time, have that grant. It is a dollar-for-dollar match up to $10 per day for EBT customers. And I would like to see that program come to our Olympia Farmers Market. We have a compelling case for it, obviously, but that money has not yet been awarded to us, but we are
Right.
looking forward to it in the future.
So it's coming to a farmer's market here anyway.
Indeed, yes.
And I think that's wonderful. And finally, one of my favorite vegetables is a patty squash. It's a summer squash, and it's more flattened than the other squash. And I've checked in the markets, the major markets for years. Guess what I found at our farmer's market last weekend?
Patty?
Yes, and it's organic. And I've been gorging myself on this stuff before it's gone, because it is awesome. So again, I want to encourage everybody, shop local at farmers markets. Thank you.
I believe what I'd like to point out, not only thank you very much for all that you do in the farmer market arena, but you're really, having been here for a few years, for those of you in the audience that might remember in 1975, there was a lot of turmoil about the farmer's market and should it proceed.
The downtown one?
Yes. I mean, it was quite the controversy. And now look what it has evolved into. And I might say at somewhere along the line in the early 70s, that conversation developed and look at what we've got. And I see a lot of comparison with what we recently did in creating a discussion about a convention center. A lot of controversy, a lot of discussion, but look at what you folks have accomplished, and it all started with a conversation. So thank you very much for what you do.
Sure, I'll just chime in by saying, again, thank you for those here in Yelm, Rainier, Tenino, Rochester, Olympia, all of Lacey that has a farmer's market. It's more than just a food, family, and fun. That's the way I like to say it. But it's brings nutrition to each and every person, and it's a system of foods that we rely on. And it is absolutely fantastic. We have an asset here in this community and for what you do. So thanks so much, and we'd like to take a photo with you. Is that all right? Yeah, come on down.
Come on up.
5,000 people a day in the summer? 5,500.
George and I can't stand too close together, it'll get too bright. Here, I'll go over here, stand by us.
I'll get a copy. Stand by. You heard him say it, he's gonna stand by.
Those were good.
Two.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for taking this out. All right.
Commissioner, thank you so much. I'm just gonna grab my phone. Commissioner, thank you so much. Commissioner, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, get your pen.
I got it.
Fantastic. Love it.
Well done.
Okay. So the next item we have on the agenda is the item number 1, which is the opportunity for the public to address the board. And so with that in mind, if you haven't been here before, we no longer do what we call the stoplight version, the red, green, yellow, and it counts down. We do this clock right up here on your right, my left, on the wall here. It'll count down from 3 minutes to 0, and when we get to 0, you hear this kind of microwave sound. It goes, you're done. And so, yeah. So, but if you're in mid-thought or something, I'll let you finish, but I'll start asking you to kind of finish it up because I don't want to, we like to hear everybody's word, but at the same time, 3 minutes is what we allow. And I'm going to go just by who signed in first and who actually hit the little mark here saying yes, they would. But if I forgot somebody or if you change your mind, you would like to come to the podium after we are done with the list, I'll give a minute or two to ask if anybody's changed their mind and come up to the podium and give you that chance to speak, okay? So with that in mind, I'm going to start with, is it Leanne Engel? Hey, there you go. How you doing, ma'am? You bet. Come on up to there. If you could do me a small favor and tell me where you're from in the county and your name, and in your case, can I get you to pull the mic down so we can hear
Lower
you?
the microphone, please.
Good.
There you go. You have the floor. Go ahead.
I'm Leanne Engel, and I'm a resident of Olympia, Washington.
Sure. Go ahead.
This is my first public statement ever in 69 years of age.
That's okay.
I'm
We
a
love
little
it.
nervous. I'm here to speak in favor of Thurston County placing on the ballot this year a measure asking the voters if they would favor a 0.1% sales tax to coordinate a county-wide program to assist the homeless among us to be able to get their feet under them. These neighbors include families with children as well as old women living in their cars with no place to park, young singles, and the physically and mentally afflicted. A well-run county-wide program would be the most efficient in delivering services and goods to the needy. I'm a 20-year resident. My views at my age are not naive. Along with many others in my neighborhood, I visited the local warming center numerous times this winter with food, blankets, dry socks. I saw and heard and conversed. So much more could be done, most effectively with a county-wide program funded with a 0.1% sales tax, if the voters so choose. Thank you all for your attention and time.
Thank you for your words there, ma'am. The next person I see here is Karen Kessler. I'm so sorry. Kessler? Come on up. How you doing there, sir? Okay, we might need to raise the mic on you just a little bit.
Raise the podium.
And that's a new song for us, okay? Raise the mic. Go ahead, sir. You have the floor.
Okay. My name's Kieran Kiesler, and I'm from Yelm. Good afternoon, commissioners. I am a 2017 graduate of Yelm High School in valedictorian. For the past 2 years, I have driven to school and have experienced the traffic before and after school. Earlier this year, I learned that the Yelm School District would like to put in another access road to the high school on land the district already owns. Due to county requirements for Mazama pocket gopher studies, it may take more than a year, as gopher inspections can only take place between the months of June and October, and cost upwards of $17,000 in permit fees to obtain county approval to construct this road. Because the current traffic situation around Yelm High School is considered by most to be entirely unacceptable, I decided to get input from my fellow students in the form of a simple survey, which I conducted towards the end of this past school year. I was able to survey 122 students. When asked to rate the current traffic situation at Yelm High School on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being bad, the results were unsurprising, as 1 was the most common answer, followed by 2 and 3. The traffic situation must change. By having a second road, it will help relieve traffic congestion before and after school. Having a second access road to the high school would also dramatically improve the safety of pedestrians. In the survey, over 2/3 of the students claimed that they either experienced a close call in traffic or had witnessed one. With the freshmen moving up to the high school this upcoming year, there won't necessarily be more drivers on the road, but there will be many more pedestrians. It is already dangerous enough in the early morning hours for pedestrians and drivers. It is often very hard to see people crossing the road, especially if they're wearing dark clothes. With so many county issues that need to be dealt with, I am here not only to report on this dire situation, but to offer possible solutions. One possibility would be to expedite the gopher studies and finish them by October of this year, or to dismiss the required gopher studies altogether for the situation and allow construction on the road to begin immediately. A second access road to Yelm High School would alleviate traffic and, more importantly, make Yelm safer for students who are walking to school and student drivers. At the end of the day, we must all ask ourselves whether or not the lives of gophers are more important than the lives of students. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Quick question, high school, what level again, I'm sorry?
Yelm High School.
And, okay, you're junior, senior?
I graduated.
Okay, good.
I guess I'd just like to take a moment to clarify something. As we don't normally get involved in public debate in this particular forum, just for your information, because you might not know this, this is a federal issue through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. It's the Endangered Species Act, and we'd just like to have you know that all 3 county commissioners sent a letter to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife asking for that exemption that you're talking about earlier this year, and we've not heard back at this particular time, but we have been made aware of that with your school officials bringing it to our attention. So just so you knew that somebody is listening to those concerns out there. So thank you very much for coming forward.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your words.
Thank you.
All right, the next. The next person I have is Esther Cronenberg. Hello, Esther. It's good to see you again. You bet. Come on up. There you go. Okay. You have the floor. Go ahead.
It's with deep sadness I read the article in the Olympian that reported on your comments and inaction with regard to our homeless population. That's why I'd like to share with you what's been done in Salt Lake City. The following is a shortened version of an article from the Salt Lake Tribune. Last March, Mayor Ben McAdams put into place something he long felt compelled to do. Due to a state law, he had to select possible sites for 3 new homeless centers. Regardless of the choices, it would prove highly unpopular in the neighborhoods. Each prospective area arose in fury at the idea, but it had to be done. He needed a more personal perspective, and it was this catalyst that solidified his decision. He left work on a Friday with his Director of Government Affairs. They both wore 3-day growth, no wallets, money, or IDs, dressed in their oldest jeans and hoodies. Each had a small bag with some clothes, a blue tarp, and cheap disposable phones. And they walked the miles from City Hall to Salt Lake City's most troubled neighborhood and disappeared among the thousands of homeless persons in the city and immersed themselves with this population. The first night, they slept in the street. They found a spot amongst hundreds in the area against a building and wrapped themselves with their tarps. I didn't feel safe, he said. I wanted to understand why some people would choose not to go into shelter. It was cold, below 40s, and it was raining. You wonder why people would choose to do that, knowing there were beds available in the shelter. After a fitful 4 hours of sleep, they headed to the shelter. As bad as the night on the street was, the shelter was a nightmare. It housed over 1,000 men. The rules are in place and employees and volunteers were present. It was riddled with violence and drugs. He now saw why being outside in the rain and cold was preferable. His time was consumed by solving two pressing needs. Where am I going to sleep? And where am I going to get food? You have to plan your whole day around that. It leaves little energy left to search for jobs or housing. They ate at missions and had church-sponsored meals. He met a family with an autistic kid. What psychological trauma is probably inflicted on a child who doesn't know where he's going to sleep or where his next meal's coming from? He ended his experience with one understanding, that doing nothing is not an option, even if it's the end of me politically. I knew when I accepted this task it would come with consequences for me personally. But this work isn't about me personally. It's about doing the right thing for people who are in crisis. If I have to pay a personal price for moving this work forward, it's a price I'm willing to pay. I ran for office to make a difference, not to have a job. By mid-July of 2019, 3 new shelters will open. He vows to assist in every aspect of the shelter experience, into one focused on rehabilitation and recovery. I know my 3 days and 2 nights is nothing. It was helpful, but I'm fortunate I have backup. Salt Lake City have been models for helping the homeless compared to most other large cities and counties. Mayor McAdams aims to raise the bar that much higher, starting with having local law enforcement not unduly harass the homeless, but help and assist. And it's making a tangible difference. In Salt Lake City, the number of chronic homeless has been reduced by a whopping 90%. I hope this encourages our commissioners to do the same for Thurston County so we can all live with dignity.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Esther. Next person is Maureen Canny. Hi, Maureen. How are you doing? Come on up.
Good afternoon. I'm all for getting the Habitat Conservation Plan finalized and over with. It has dragged on for too long, and nearly $2 million has already been received to make this plan a reality. Approve the plan that involves purchasing large clusters of prairie land to offset destruction of habitat for several species protected under the Endangered Species Act. Though only 1% of building permit seekers in the county will be required to mitigate for the loss of habitat that their project causes, this plan is very important because only 5% of the unique prairie habitat remains in Thurston County. The HCP is needed to allow for a sustainable development in line with federal law and to preserve the remaining prairie ecosystem for future generations. Keep in mind, though, the major cost of mitigation should be paid by the permit seeker. These fees will vary according to the extent of each project and the amount of damage it causes. Most of the HCP should be financed by those wanting to build on identified habitat through permit fees, just like any other building permit. Yet both plans proposed at your last meeting involved wiping out the existing Conservation Future Funds for the next 30 years. The Conservation Futures Fund is a land preservation program to protect threatened areas of open space, timberlands, wetlands, and other habitat within Thurston County. It helps bolster several very worthy conservation efforts countywide. Why on earth would the public pay such a huge chunk of mitigation for an individual or developer's project? I can understand general citizen support for development of public service projects such as public schools, as Garen just mentioned, and for the roads, and for fire departments, but not for private developments. Citizens at large should not support the profit margins of landowners and developers. Permit fees should shoulder a significant portion of the cost. Setting a precedent to bail individuals out of real estate decisions is risky for the county. If you permit a house whose well runs dry, or a house that slides because of an unstable slope, is the county going to bail those landowners out also? Preferential treatment is not appropriate. How would you decide which landowners should receive these conservation futures funds? I can understand that the public might pay a slight increase in the property tax for the conservation future funds. As a community, we value our open spaces and our unique ecosystems and all benefit from them. Therefore, we all need to pay a little bit more to preserve them for future generations. If you do increase the conservation futures tax, the increase should be added to the general conservation fund and be available for a variety of conservation projects. Property owners who would like assistance with offsetting the cost could perhaps apply for some relief by submitting application proposals along with other conservation groups. They may be eligible for additional state or federal money also, but that is not the county's responsibility to ensure each citizen's financial future. So in summary, please approve the Habitat Conservation Plan, but do not make the public pay for such a large chunk of an individual's responsibility. Do not wipe out the future funds because it benefits so many other worthy projects. Move on with this plan and give relief to public projects such as Garen mentioned.
Thank you so much for your words, ma'am. All righty, so I have also Phyllis Farrell. Hello, Phyllis, how you doing there? Good to see you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As you know, my name is Phyllis Farrell, and I'm a resident of unincorporated Thurston County. And kind of following up on a previous presentation or comment, I've been following the meetings and discussions about the Habitat Conservation Plan and have come to realize how difficult and complicated this issue is. It's become increasingly difficult to manage our growth and the needs of county residents while also protecting the county's land and water resources. I attended a meeting sometime back in which staff presented 4 plans to address some of the complicated issues related to protecting endangered species and habitats and still allowing for growth and development. All these plans utilize conservation futures funds to support mitigation efforts. Several groups and individuals have voiced concerns in opposition to using public tax dollars to support private individuals and developers with mitigation requirements. While all mitigation efforts are desirable and are ultimately in the public good, the principle of using public dollars to support private development requirements seems very questionable. Additionally, if the conservation futures funds were diverted to private mitigation in the proposed HCP plan, these funds would no longer be available for other conservation group purchases, such as the Capitol and Nisqually Land Trust, which have made such good use of those funds in the acquisition of properties important to salmon recovery efforts, and as well as other conservation programs purchases. I urge you to consider putting a proposed tax increase of the conservation futures, which would specify the funds would be earmarked for development mitigation. If the voters approved such an increase, you could be confident that it has the support of taxpayers. If the proposal was not approved, that would be your answer as to whether it is advisable to use conservation futures for private mitigation. Or as an alternative, it's my understanding that you are authorized to increase or raise the conservation futures tax rate, which could then be used for the mitigation called for in the HCP plan. This could still reserve the current conservation futures funding for the broader conservation efforts, acquisition efforts. So thank you for your consideration, all the work that you do, your service, and I appreciate it.
Thank you for your good words there, Phyllis. Okay, so that brings me to the end of the list, but I'd like to ask anybody who would like to come to the podium and speak to the board, just raise your hand and I'll call you forward and we'll proceed forward. Anybody? Oh, okay. Anybody that changed their mind off of this list that'd like to come? No? No takers? Okay, so that concludes the opportunity for the public to address the board. And so with that, we're going to go to item number 2, which is the county manager's update, and he's going to...
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'd like to follow up with a couple comments that you received on July 25th, Board of County Commissioners during the public testimony. The first comment was received by Mr. Ballard, and he was asking for additional information on what he called the Isthmus Park. Let me give you a little background as to what that is, and hopefully that will answer Mr. Ballard's questions. In 2011, the Olympia Capital Park Foundation made an application to Conservation Futures for funding to purchase 2 properties located on the 529 4th Avenue West and 505 4th Avenue West. Both parcels are next to each other within the area commonly known as the Isthmus. This purchase was part of a larger plan to develop a park in partnership with other public and private entities. The Board of County Commissioners at that time, on July 5th, 2011, did approve the foundation's request for $600,000 for the Capital Olympic Vista Park, also known as the Isthmus Park acquisition project. At that time, there was a concern that perhaps there was not enough match money to continue with this purchase of the park. So the board approved the $600,000 contingent to the applicant finding additional money to make this project in the purchase a reality. They did so, and as a result, the county released those funds for the purchase of those properties. Again, that was part of the Conservation Futures Funds, and at this point, the county has no other actions related to this particular venture.
Okay, you have a comment? Sure.
Was there any requirement when the county entered into that relationship with the city that a certain plan actually come to fruition, a park being developed or a time frame for that?
I don't believe so, Commissioner, because the request was specifically for the purchase.
Just for the purchase? Okay.
Any comment?
No.
Okay, sure. All right, thank you there, sir. Next item we have is,
I have another.
oh, you got another one? Go ahead.
Yeah.
My bad.
Also, on July 25th, you received public testimony from Mr. Weaver. He's a South County resident. And his request was for you to revise the vesting programs related to a preliminary plats from 5 years to 15 years. So we checked with our attorneys, and their responses are, hopefully I can make it short. Most timeframes for vesting development under plats are largely controlled by state law. There are 2 different timeframes that apply to subdivisions vesting. One that defines the period between a preliminary plat and a final plat, and the other defines a permissible time period between a final plat and when the actual development should be constructed and completed. There is two particular RCWs that govern that vesting law, which is RCW 5817-140 and RCW 5817-170. Each one of those have a little bit different timelines in terms of between 5 and 10 years as to how those particular steps needs to be taken. The county code under 1812-150 does allow for a 5-year between preliminary and final plat approval. However, an extension can be requested that meets a certain criteria of this particular development. That means the developer will need to request an extension, and they can have up to 10 years of the date of preliminary approval to complete a particular project. The Thurston County Code, again, is 1812-150, is aligned with the RCW 5817-140 and 5817-170, which related to the vesting regulations.
Being Mr. Weaver is not here today to hear that, who should we get questioned? Who should we refer him to in staff
I will
to make that request?
I will try to reach out to him and give him some information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
That's all I have for you.
Okay, good. My bad. Okay, let's try the consent items. Item number 3, is there a motion to adopt the consent items A through E?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent items A through E.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent items A through E. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion passes. So transition this into the department items, which is item number 4. The resource stewardship is the first one. A proposed ordinance amending the impervious surface standards in the residential sensitive resource zoning district. And we have Mr. Jeremy Davis.
Good afternoon, Chair Blake, Commissioners. Jeremy Davis, Thurston County Resource Stewardship, Long Range Planning. I'm here today to request the Board of County Commissioners approve an ordinance amending the impervious surface standards in the residential sensitive resource zoning district, which is inside of the Tumwater urban growth area. The residential sensitive resource zoning district was put into county code back in 1995 and was specifically applied to those areas in the Tumwater urban growth area, including the city, that had a sensitive resource such as a riparian area next to a stream. And then back about 4 or 5 years ago, we added high groundwater hazard areas to that list of areas. This last December, the county updated its low-impact development standards. We instituted new standards. Upon implementation of those standards, we found that the new one for the RSR district, or Residential Sensitive Resource Zoning District, were too restrictive for larger properties that are located in the unincorporated portion of the UGA as well as the city. It had a very restrictive standard of 7,500 square feet or 40%, whichever is less, which ended up being about 1.5 to 1.75% impervious surface for a 10-acre lot. We have a number of those in the unincorporated UGA. The standards in the attached ordinance to today are consistent with those adopted by the city of Tumwater this last April. Actually, they're the same. We also made a couple of definition changes, and we caught a couple of errors on that. The board held a duly noticed public hearing on this on July 11th, 2017, and held a follow-up briefing on that to give staff direction. With that, are there any questions today?
Any questions about the impervious surface for you there?
No, Jeremy, thank you. I'm told this happened quite quickly. I know a lot of people in the audience or out in the viewing public might not understand the bureaucracy, but thank you for your attention and
Sure.
getting it fixed.
Sure.
Yeah, ditto. Thank you, Jeremy, very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to applaud you for stepping up and taking this action. What was back in February, March, somewhere in there, and now here we are executing it and getting it through and approving it. So, okay, is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve an ordinance amending the Tumwater UGA zoning ordinance, Title 22, to change the impervious surface standards in the Residential Sensitive Resource Zoning District, Chapter 22.08, and amending related definitions.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and your motion carries. Thank you very much, Jeremy.
Thank you, Commissioners.
You bet. So the item number 5 is the Public Works, which is an interlocal agreement with LOTT Clean Water Alliance for receiving of residential septic and SEP waste from Olympic View and Boston Harbor communities. Hello, Teresa. How you doing there?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Tell us all about it.
Okay, I'm Teresa Parsons with the Public Works Department. I'm here in regard to a utility issue. The Lot Clean Water Alliance is willing to enter into an agreement with us to take our septic waste from the step tanks in Boston Harbor and Olympic View and give us the best price. And we would still contract with private haulers, but they would take it to Lot. Lot would bill us directly, and it would be a cost savings. And so I respectfully request that the board approve this interlocal agreement. The Lot Clean Water Alliance board has already approved and signed this, and awaiting your concurrence.
Okay, do you have any questions or comments, Teresa?
I guess it isn't very often that we get to vote on something that actually is going to save the ratepayers money. So thank you for carrying this through.
And I represent the county on the lot board, and I remember this coming through, I think. But you said it results in a savings. Do you have any guess, Teresa, how much the savings would be?
I did not calculate it out, but I can if you would like. I'm thinking that it's several $1,000s a year.
Yeah, that's still significant. No, don't work it out. Don't calculate it. Thank you very much. I have no other questions.
Okay, is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve an interlocal agreement with Lot Clean Water Alliance for receiving residential septage and step waste from Olympic View and Boston Harbor communities at the base fee of $15.63 per 100 gallons for a period of 5 years from date of execution, and authorize the interim Public Works Director to extend the ILA with agreement of both parties.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and your motion carries. Thank you very much, Teresa.
Thank you.
Item number 6 is the Commissioners and County Managers items, and it's the Memorandum of Understanding with the Washington Health Care Authority regarding the reporting of a portion of treatment sales tax. And we have Carrie Hennon. to
Good
tell us about it.
afternoon.
You bet.
Yes.
Hello.
All right, so the Washington State Healthcare Authority entered into an agreement with the federal agency that oversees Medicaid earlier this year for a Medicaid transformation, or we commonly call this the Medicaid waiver. Over the next 5 years, that could, if everything goes well, allow the state to draw down about $1.1 billion in additional Medicaid funding. In order to fully draw down that federal funding, the state has to provide additional non-federal share, what we commonly call match. So the State Healthcare Authority has asked the counties to report some local expenditures of eligible expenses. So in this case, this is some of our local treatment sales tax that we spend on mental health and substance use programming. So the request is to approve a memorandum of understanding with the Healthcare Authority under which we as the county would report on a portion of our TST expenditures. And then the state would report that to the federal government as match, enabling them to draw down more Medicaid. So there is not a direct cost to the county, and there is not a direct promise of additional dollars to the county. This is simply reporting to the state, allowing them to report to the federal government.
Sure, great. Any questions, comments?
Just for clarification for the viewing audience, the acronym that you used, RTS.
Our treatment sales tax, which is our local 10th of a percent sales tax on mental health and substance use services.
You have a question, comment?
No, I do not.
And just for another clarity, there is a opt-out clause built in this if we decide to.
Yes, we can terminate, either party can terminate the agreement at any time with written notice to the other. So the county can notify Healthcare Authority if we choose no longer to participate.
Okay. Thank you so much. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve and authorize the Assistant County Manager to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Washington Health Care Authority, the HCA, through which a portion of the treatment sales tax expenditures will be reported to HCA as designated state health programs under the Medicaid Transformation Project.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
You bet. All righty, that brings us to 6B, which is the portion where we, commissioners report back on any work sessions or committees they sit on or something they were involved in the community. And I'll just ask my two seatmates if they want to speak about anything.
Well, I won't go into detail of the activities over the week, but I would like to just point out one thing that was brought up today for the viewing audience, and that was that a comment was made that only 1% of those applying for a permit through the county would be affected and would have to pay under the HCP. And that's currently not correct. What it would be was all people getting a permit would be obligated to pay a fee to offset the mitigation process. So it's not just 1%, although there seems to only be 1% of the property affected by the gopher, I believe. So I think it was just a misunderstanding.
Yes, real quick. I'm not going to repeat what I did last time, but I did this last week take a tour, the lot tour at the Hawks Prairie recharging basins off of Carpenter Road, which was very interesting, listening to a hydrogeologist talk about the recharging stations out there. I'd just like to report the fair, Thurston County Fair, was a huge success and a lot of fun, flipping pancakes all Saturday morning, and then working the Lions booth the rest of the day. And want to invite our public this Friday, August 11th. I'm doing a second guac talk, and we're going to chat about, in public, we're going to chat about the Comprehensive Plan and GMA, Growth Management Act. from 11:30 to 12:30 at Don Juan's Restaurant in Tenino, and I'm providing the guacamole if anybody wants to come down. And at 1:30 to 2:30 at Pepper's Mexican Restaurant on Cherry Street here in Olympia. Be doing the same thing, and I'll have staff with me to explain the Growth Management Act and the comprehensive plan and how comprehensive that comprehensive plan is. So you're all welcome. Thank you.
Sure, I'll just name 2 or 3 items. In the past week or so, I sat down with the Thurston County Historic Society, and what a wonderful asset that they are as far as bringing information that's, well, not an everyday knowledge. And for example, the Charles Lindbergh flight that came into here and some of the other things, how Tumwater is developed. It's absolutely wonderful to how they have this recorded and presented in journals and videos and all kind of documents, and I'd encourage anybody to get involved with that. You'll learn so much about Thurston County and the surrounding area, and about yourself too, and how this all fits in together as one big county family. Another thing is that we received a series of briefs, all 3 of us and a lot of the staff, on the Henderson Inlet septic system. I won't go into the details, but it's kind of coming to a closure here of a 10-year program, and we're looking at how that has been very, very, very successful in portions of the Henderson Inlet. And there's some other portions that need a lot of other work, and we're now adjusting the program a little bit here and there to put the dollars where it will count in terms of getting portions of rivulets cleaned up and streams and that kind of stuff. But it's really exciting how we take care of the environment that way, both habitat and wildlife. And then, as he mentioned, the fair was absolutely phenomenal. Hat goes off to the Fair Board, the Fair Foundation, and of course our Josh Cummings. He is absolutely phenomenal in terms of bringing it to success for the last 3 to 5 years for Thurston County. No matter how hot or rainy it is, people come there because it's a community asset and people believe in it. It's fun, it's family, and it's food. And we had a blast doing pancakes, flipping them with the, what was that, seafood? Seafood syrup, yep, and margarine. So I'm just joking. That's kind of three-prong roll up there, and I'll turn it over to the county manager.
Thank you, Commissioners. Let me walk you through your combined calendar for the rest of the week. And again, the appointments they're going to be listing are going to be where at least two commissioners are present. You may have individual appointments in your individual calendars. So starting today, Tuesday, August 8th at 3:30, you have your regular Board of Health meeting. Moving to Wednesday, August 9th at 2 in the afternoon, you have a briefing related to the Habitat Conservation Plan, the HCP, is specifically related to a potential prairie habitat conservation bank that is related to the Mazama Meadows property. At 3 in the afternoon, you have a briefing on the annual insurance renewal, and that will be given by the risk group in HR. And at 3:30, you will have a briefing on the sheriff's time management system, and that will be provided from our IT department, and they will be seeking for your approval. Thursday, August 10th, you will have all-day interviews related to the Director of Public Works position, and that will be located on the Public Works campus on Tilly Road on the Rainier Room. And again, it's going to be from 8 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. On Friday, August 11th, at 8 in the morning, you have an executive session. This is related to a potential litigation associated with the concurrency matters along Marvin Road. At 9 in the morning on Thursday, I believe Commissioners Hutchins and Commissioner Blake will review the agenda for the Thurston Mesa Behavioral Health Organization, as we know, the BHO. And at 3:30 in the afternoon, you had an invitation for a groundbreaking ceremony for the affordable housing complex that is going to be located in the former site of the Bailey Motor Inn. So I believe you have that in your individual calendar, so all 3 of you are invited to that. Moving on to next week, Monday, August 14th, you have nothing on your combined calendar, and we'll come back here on Tuesday, August 15th, where we be reviewing the agenda for the Board of County Commissioners in the afternoon. Thank you.
Any follow-up comments or questions?
No.
Or anything? No. Anybody? Elizabeth? Nope. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, I move to adjourn the Board of County Commissioners meeting of August 8, 2017.
Second.
It's been moved and second to adjourn the Board of County Commissioners, August 8, 2017. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and we are adjourned.